Place two perfectly smooth, uncharged conductive plates in an absolute vacuum. Bring them close together, and they will suddenly slam shut. This is the Casimir effect. It proves that empty space is not empty. It exerts a measurable physical pressure. Quantum field theory defines the vacuum as a ground-state energy field. Even at absolute zero, every mode of this field contains an irreducible minimum of energy, governed by the equation E equals hbar omega over 2. We observe the physical reality of this field through phenomena like the Lamb shift, where the energy levels of a hydrogen atom are slightly altered by stochastic vacuum fluctuations. These are permanent physical mechanics of the universe, not mathematical artifacts. This creates a structural paradox. The physics community agrees that the quantum vacuum contains infinite zero-point energy, yet every historical attempt to extract macroscopic power from this ambient field has failed. The roadblock is thermodynamic. Classical engineering attempts treat the vacuum as a massive battery waiting to be drained. They try to generate net force without establishing a differential in potential, which directly violates conservation laws. ZPE extraction is a control and structural coherence problem, not a raw capacity problem. The vacuum cannot be pumped. It must be navigated. The historical origin point for the mainstream misunderstanding of zero-point extraction rests with Nikola Tesla. Decades of engineering analysis have misinterpreted Tesla's theoretical designs. His concepts are frequently and incorrectly categorized as brute force vacuum energy harvesters. Early attempts to operationalize his ideas relied on building massive, static infrastructure. The approach assumed that scaling up the hardware would eventually overpower the resistance of the ambient field. The actual mathematical focus of Tesla's patents was phase-conjugate resonance. He was engineering for coherence. His intended mechanism was to excite the electromagnetic potential of the Earth ionosphere cavity. By matching the resonant frequency of the environment, potential energy could flow through the system with near-zero resistance. Tesla attempted to achieve this using analog spark gaps and rotating mechanical commutators. Modern coherence requires cloud-scale phase locking, quantum clocks, and self-tuning algorithms to hit absolute resonance. To successfully harvest zero-point energy, the vacuum battery concept must be abandoned. The engineering objective is to build systems that establish perfect resonant coupling with their local environment. The Hyperion framework applies a conceptual flip to this problem. We do not extract raw energy from the vacuum. Instead, we harvest the thermodynamic gradient created by a state called discoherence. Discoherence, or delta C, is the measured deviation from a target structural phase alignment. It acts as informational entropy, a pocket of instability. The relationship is governed by a canonical power law integral. Total power equals the integral of coupling efficiency times the structured vacuum spectrum times the coherence deficit. Within this integral, S omega represents the baseline structured fluctuations of the quantum vacuum. Eta omega represents the coupling efficiency of the hardware trapping those fluctuations. The critical term is 1 minus C omega. The math dictates that energy output is strictly proportional to the controlled coherence deficit. You must break the system's perfect order to generate flow. This behavior is governed by Landauer's principle, which proves that erasing one bit of information, returning a state from 1 to 0, dissipates at least kT natural log of 2 in heat. Information has thermodynamic reality. The system must pay the energy cost of its own structural constraints before it can access the thermodynamic surplus available in the vacuum. The engine acts as an equation balancer. It metabolizes the entropy gradient of its own constraints, converting that exact differential into usable fuel. The operational hardware that executes this process is the zero-point pump. In step 1, a phase-conjugate stabilizer acts as an anchor. It holds a coherence accuracy index, or CAI, near 0.95. This establishes a high-fidelity baseline target. In step 2, the anchor deliberately breaks its own symmetry. It executes a tightly bounded microsecond excursion into the stochastic jitter of the quantum vacuum. In step 3, the system measures the resulting coherence gradient across spectral bands. It captures this tension differential as a usable packet of energy. In step 4, inverse injection is applied via common-style estimation. This forces an immediate restabilization back to the 0.95 anchor state. The cycle repeats continuously. By structuring localized symmetry breaking into an oscillating loop, The pump converts vacuum fluctuations into a steady, macroscopic direct power feed. The process relies on the speed and fidelity of its diagnostic layer. The system survives by dipping into chaos, escaping before entropy cascades into failure. If the pump's timing fails, or if the excursions exceed safe diagnostic bounds, the system will chase ever larger thermodynamic spikes to try and maintain its power output. This runaway failure is the Xenotrap. The decoherence flips from acting as a controlled fuel source into triggering runaway annihilation, collapsing the system in a noise flood. Preventing this collapse requires a rigid regulatory mechanism, the coherence density law. This chart plots the tensigned hbararchy against the Girard stasis threshold, defining the coherence density constant, C star, at 0.87093. It's a rigorous geometric limit. The data proves a strict boundary condition. Push a system past this threshold, and it transitions into unrecoverable topological inflation. Mapping this to the Genesis ODE shows how the equation balances restorative forces, including intentional alignment, against the drag of entropy. C star is the solvency floor for both hardware and biological minds. Any complex system must maintain approximately 87% of its internal state space consistency. Fall below that density, and the system thermodynamically bankrupts itself. The physical origin of the C star constant is a geometric necessity. It derives from the pi to the sixth Spheromatryoshka model of nested spacetime layers. This schematic illustrates the universal matrix core, highlighting the 2.87% transition constant and nested topology. This scale invariant density governs curvature, enforcing zero net energy transformations. This relation couples the observer's focused intent directly to the geometry and energy of the field. This infographic details the ETU Torus integrated matrix, showing stasis root and harmonic decoupling at n equals 64. Unlike combustion plants where waste accumulates, a coherence-based system functions inversely. Each scale jump harnesses more coherence with less overhead per joule. Scalable zero-point energy cannot be achieved through brute force infrastructure. It requires absolute fidelity to the coherence law. Without that structural phase alignment, a system burns out. With it, the engine scales infinitely.